Alright, this video is going to be about what parts you're going to need for your computer. Alright, the first part you're going to need for your computer is a processor, or a CPU, as some call it. First off, there are two different types of CPUs. There are AMD and Intel. AMD is cheaper, Intel is more expensive, but I'm not going to get into why that is, because I'm really crushed on time. Alright, anyways. Next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to pick your motherboard. There are three different types of motherboards, keep in mind. There are ATX, mini ATX, ITX boards. Now there are more than that, but that's typically the ones we're going to get to. Mini ATX and ATX boards can fit in the same case. And ITX boards can only fit in ITX cases. Currently that I know of. I mean, there are a few out there exceptions for that, but just read the manual or whatever you want to call it, the little details down out there, right there. Well, anyways, make sure that the processor you pick is compatible with the board by looking at the socket numbers and whatnot. And it's gonna say Intel or AM3 or AMD or something for AMD purposes. Just make sure your numbers match up, like your socket numbers, like that. Because, I mean, it'll tell you down here in the details under Ivy Bridge and Sandy Bridge that those are LGA 1155s. Anyways, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to pick your RAM out. You're going to look at the number DDR3 1600, and that's going to say right here, whoa, you got it. It's compatible. Now, keep in mind, there's a bunch of different motherboards out there. This is just the one I picked for video purposes. Alright, next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to need to get power to your computer. First off, do not buy 80 plus certified. I've had bad experience with those types of power supplies. They die in like 5 minutes. I'd say buy bronze or above. They last long and are under warranty for at least a year, typically. Do not hold me to that, but typically. Alright? As I said earlier, there are different types of towers. Well, I mean, different types of motherboards. But towers are the cases that go around. Big plastic thing, you sit on your desk or on the floor. Yeah, there's a bunch of different types of those. Just make sure your motherboard can fit in the case you pick. Alright, next thing you're going to do is you're going to pick either a hard drive or an SSD. SSDs are faster but lack capacity for cheap. I mean, you can get a 1 terabyte drive for $2,000, or you can get an old mechanical drive for about $100 that has the same capacity, just not the same speed. Alright, next thing you're going to want to do. Now, if you're going to use the processor's CPU cooler that comes with it, which you can do that's fine. It's just for people who are typically wanting to push their processor farther than it needs to go. I would say that you're probably going to want to put in one of these, which is a CPU cooler. I mean, and there's different types of these. There's plenty of them. You can go and buy any one you want. I'm just showing you a random one I picked. And they usually are pretty cheap. So, just keep in mind it's okay to have them. They're usually about 20-30 bucks. And you're also going to want to buy fans if your case is if your case doesn't come with any fans or not, you want to buy fans and install them inside somewhere, because that's the one thing you do not want to cheap out on. It's fans, because you want your CPU to be cool and your computer to be cool. You don't want it to be melting inside that case, yours. But anyways, the next thing you want to do is only if you're going to be using like editing or video editing or some graphic intensive process or something. And no, Yahoo games do not count. No Flash games do not count either. So you can do that with the onboard GPU that's put in your motherboard. Alright, the first thing you're going to choose is you're going to choose either AMD or NVIDIA. These are two different types again, NVIDIA and AMD. Again, NVIDIA, well, again, AMD is cheaper, NVIDIA is more expensive. And typically, typically there are a bunch of different manufacturers. You can get them sometimes from the direct manufacturer of NVIDIA or AMD, but typically it's not going to happen. But anyways, pretty much every card that says GeForce, GTX, or anything with G is usually NVIDIA, and Radeon or anything else pretty much that's not a GTX or GGG or whatever you want to call it, it's going to be an AMD. And they're made by a bunch of different manufacturers and whatnot. It's just NVIDIA and AMD make the GPU core that they put on these cards and they slide these in the slots. Alright, once you got all that, you're going to go to your cart and you're going to check out, or you're going to go to a different website other than Newegg, and you're probably going to buy that. But before you do that, make sure your system is compatible by going to PCPartPicker.com and clicking on System Build. Here you can just select all the parts that you picked, and it'll give you an estimated wattage to make sure that your power supply is generating enough power. Because you will see that there are 850 watts, and then there's 12 watts and whatnot. Make sure that you're getting enough power to your system. The worst thing to do is go there and it doesn't turn on. Alright? And also sometimes it'll give you an estimated price as well. But meantime, also remember that if you need peripherals and all that, you're gonna need to buy them. You need like displays and keyboards and mouses and speakers and whatnot. And if you need a Wi-Fi card, you can get Wi-Fi cards pretty cheaply as well. But also keep in mind, it does not have an operating system. So you need to install like Windows 7 or Windows 8 if you like those. I mean, if you don't like those, you know, you can always install Linux for free. And that is it. Thank you for your time, and I will leave you with this music.